Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Somebody told me the second half of that, but it was kind of dirty, so I'm not going to say it. Okay, so we've got an article here that has nothing to do with tonight's talk. Okay, it's from 1905, and we'll put it online. But it's about this was out of the Pharmacy Museum in New Orleans, that they had a big article from Collier Magazine challenging the fact that this pharmaceutical industry selling their patent medicines are poisoning the kids, they're lying to the public, and they're literally creating addicts. No, that was 113 years before the current opioid crisis. It's just you wouldn't see that in a national magazine anymore because they get the profits from the advertisement. So now, let's talk about, we're going to have three lectures. The first one is going to be on waste and water. And a lot of people, sitting in your nice warm house, it might be like, well, why do we got to prepare for this? The government's got my back. If there's any kind of a disaster, we have that FEMA agency that'll come right in. Okay. Things are changing. Things are changing rapidly. The only person you can depend on is yourself. And if you abdicate authority in any aspect of your life, it could be finances, health, or anything, someone else will take it over. Now, who could run your life better than you? I know I've told my kids several times that I could run their life better. I have more wisdom, more experience. But actually, I think they're doing a better job than I could. So we've got changes coming, whether it's economic, whether it's acidification of the ocean, whether there's, environmental disasters, things are changing. That's without a doubt. The problem is that you've all heard of the story of the frog in the water. You slowly turn up the heat and the frog ends up dying from the heat, but they didn't even know it. Right now, and this is out of careerbuilder.com. They did a survey, and they found out that 78% of U.S. workers live paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. You miss one paycheck, and you're in deep trouble. Things don't get done. Right now, currently, we have a government that can't decide on how to govern their own self. Yes, our government, which is responsible for getting taxes and paying bills, are defaulting for about 4 weeks now. People in our government have been furloughed. No, I'm sorry, you're no longer going to work here for a while. We're going to keep you employed. Go get food stamps, go get welfare. We're just not going to pay you. Now, that's the state of our government. You can say it's to build up a wall to keep the Americans in. You could say it's to build a wall to keep the Americans in so we don't emigrate, okay? But 78% of the people, and these are not the furloughed government workers, paycheck to paycheck. Nearly 1 in 10 workers who make $100,000 a year, that's a tremendous amount of money. They can't pay their bills. Okay, 1 in 4 workers don't set aside savings. 75% of workers say they're in debt, and more than half say they always will be. So this is, does anyone remember back, and I mean like 40, 50 years ago, where the mom stayed home, the dad would work, they would retire at 65 and have a tremendous pension. They would spend 2 weeks a year traveling. Let's go up to the Catskills, to the nice, anyone curious about the time back there, look at, the marvelous Miss Maisel. Okay, this shows a glimpse that heat is slowly being turned up. Our dollar doesn't purchase as much anymore. You have to have 2 or 3 jobs. This is a big deal. And now there's the United Way project. They go into ALICE. Now this is assisted, limited, income, constrained, and employed. And they have certain patterns or questionnaires to ask people, are you employed? Do you have economic hardships? Okay, what's your life like? 51 million households, that's 43% of Americans, actually 48% of Californians, are living just barely making ends meet. That means they miss a paycheck, they might not make food. It was something like 78% of the population, if you had a $400 bill, they couldn't make it. They could borrow it, they wouldn't have the money, they might be able to sell something. So this is the financial status of America. We're going to do a whole talk on what to do to prepare yourself for it. It's just, I'm bringing up this little snippet into waking you up that there's big challenges. So when it comes to surviving, you need to plan for 6 months to a year without any services. Yes, this means 6 months to a year without a cell phone. This means 6 months to a year without food, okay, without water. Okay, so just plan for that, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You know, I mean, you've heard that one before. But we are in a cyclical society. You could go back 20,000 years, okay, for what we have current written records for. And societies have a cycle. Okay, you get these small communities together, and they band together. There's, a brilliant book out. What was that? The origin story, the origin of everything. And it's brilliant. It talks about how energy creates, and then the energy coalesce, and then it creates, atoms and molecules and protons. And this energy expands out, and it talks about universe formation. It talks about people, how communities start to develop, and they can create communities of 150 people or less, that the barter system works. Over that, it doesn't work, so you have to create a different form of exchange. That exchange is energy. And I mean, it's just brilliant. But the key with this is small communities band together, and they're banded together by one person or a group of people in order for security, for wealth accumulation, for ease, so you can share the burden. And then this coalesce into a larger group. And then that's called the Golden Age. That's when art, education, everything is expanded. I mean, women are valued, everything's protected. It's brilliant. Think of, Leave It to Beaver in 1950s. Well, then the politicians are only hired, or the leaders, because they can give you things. And so they drain the coffers. They start to attack different groups. And you could see the fall and decline of Egypt, the fall and decline of Greece. You can see multiple empires in China build up and fail. And so there's a cycle to this. And there's a cycle to our society as well, where the infrastructures are starting to break down. There's not a lot of support. 54% of our children now, who are supposed to be paying into the Social Security system, they have a chronic illness or injury, so they will be withdrawing it. So no longer will Social Security be functioning correctly, it's going to be completely dysfunctional, and we're talking within the next 4 to 5 years. But we have to have this diversion of crazy politics so you're not aware of it. But just realize that we're in the chaos phase. Okay, we just are. So just prepare. So look at your community in a totally different light. Just expand your mind. I mean, I'm talking Huntington Beach. Now, Huntington Beach, we're surrounded by freeways, river, overpasses, underpasses, bridges. Okay, now we're not at risk of hurricanes. Okay, hurricanes, big storms, this is the most rain we're ever going to get, just about. Okay, we're not at risk of tornadoes, very few tornadoes here. Earthquakes, pretty damn popular. Okay, we have a lot of earthquakes here. So now let's say we have a 10 earthquake. Now back in the 90s, we had enough earthquake that collapsed just a couple of the overpasses. And that had a massive transit problem in LA for months. We get hit with that, all the overpasses fall. How do you get out? The stores have a maximum supply of 4 days of food. And this is, Vons, Ralph's, all the big grocery stores. So with no power, no electricity, no water, and just visualize this in your community. What do you do? Yeah, panic is a good option. Okay. So you got to look at what's available. Okay, what are different routes? Now, let's say it's an electromagnetic pulse. You're talking anything with a computer, like a car, will not work. Okay, bicycles, those will work. Feet will work. Okay, so have a to-go bag, but just, and have a different plan. Now, let's say that your plan, that you have this Uncle Bob who's a prepper. You know, he's up in the high desert. He's about 2.5 hours away. The guy has a bunker. He's got a room for you. He's got air filtration. Uncle Bob is the guy. You always made fun of him at holidays, but Uncle Bob is your main go-to, right? Okay, bam. Road systems are out. Your computer has just been blasted on your car, and you are not going to be able to walk the 200 miles to get to Uncle Bob. Okay, so what's your next plan? Okay, so you have to have a plan. If that doesn't work out, make another plan. There's always one more thing you can do, and this is hugely important, hugely important. So the things that you need to do, and this is what we're going to cover in this series, it's just, I first want to tell you, you know, it's like, I don't need to do shit. I can go down to the store and get whatever I want. Okay, that is not going to happen. This is not going to continue on. My pension is great. Okay, that isn't going to happen either. Okay, my doctor's taking care of my health. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Okay, yeah, leading cause of death is medical systems. Okay, so if you understand that there's lies and deceptions and psychosis in the medical system, we have that same lies, psychosis, and deception in the financial world, in the food world. We have some patients from the Midwest, and they're having some health issues, and I'm saying, hey, you guys are farmers. Cool, get out of the glyphosates, start growing alfalfa, and support the local farmers. Okay, and they're thinking it's a good idea. But think of this. Think of what we've done with the farm fields. Okay, we're soaking them with glyphosates. We have a monocrop. Is monocrop a good idea or completely stupid if you want long-term plants? It's insane. No culture has ever advocated a monocrop design, but that's what we have. So we're setting ourselves up for a massive failure there. Crop rotation, organic crops, living in harmony with the property, great idea, but what happens if you're a commercial farmer? We just went over finances that say that most people can't take off or miss a paycheck. Okay, heck, even if they're getting a paycheck, they can't do it. So we're asking these farmers who are locked into the system to take, a couple of years off, let their fields rest, plant, fertilize it, who could do that? Nobody. So we have to prepare to change. I understand the challenges. Okay, so food, transportation, water, shelter, waste management, first aid, protection. We're going to go over all of this. Now, 30 days you can make without food. Okay, so that's good. Some people need more, some people need less, but know that food is going to be low on the priority for short term. Water, vital. Oxygen and nerve supply, that's incredible. So when we look at this, water, if you're living in a home and all the water from the city shut off, you still have water in the pipes. Okay, you're going to have about 3-4 gallons of water. You're going to have water in the hot water heater. So all of this stuff you can drain. Now, if you're draining the water heater, you're going to see initially there's going to be some rust depending on the age of the water heater. You can filter that out, and I'll show you how to filter it. But the back of the toilet tank, not the front where the dog drinks, the back of the toilet tank, okay, is actually fresh water. And this is also when you're going through making it 3 to 4 days without water, understand gray water, and this is the stuff you'd wash your hands with. This is like a shower. Start putting a bucket under the kitchen sink so you can brush your teeth, and that gray water can be used for the toilet. So you can flush it, because without water, you get one flush. Okay? One flush. Okay, I don't care how close you are and what good of a relationship you have. Okay, you want more than one flush. Okay, so when we look at this, steam distilling. To get water, now we have a river and we've got an ocean. You can actually steam distill ocean water. It's amazing. I mean, you heat it up, it takes a lot of energy. If there's an earthquake in our area, which is probably the most likely, Are the gas lines going to be good, or do you think they're going to be trashed? Be bad. So you might not have the heat. Okay, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Boiling water, and this one here, the Kelly kettle, this is what we have in our to-go bag. Okay, we got a couple of backpacks, and I'd recommend you getting it. You can use very minimal flammable materials, a little bit of wood, a little bit of grass, anything, but it has a flame inside that heats up the water. You boil it or heat it up for 30 minutes and you've got pretty good potable water. You just have to filter it out minimally. So it just makes sense. Solar, we're always going to have the sun, hopefully. Okay, we could have a disaster like, say, Mount St. Helen. It could be, when you look at the volcanoes that have erupted over the last, few thousand years, some of them have actually created a little ice age. So you might be in an area downwind from a volcano and not have solar power or solar energy. Does that make sense? So in that case, you're going to have to boil the water. But I mean, just look at the environment and prepare for it. Because if you're planning on 100% solar, it's not going to work. But what's interesting, you're looking at how long have they been using solar or sunlight to distill water. It's back in the 16th century. I mean, that's just brilliant. And some of these solar distillates can still, and they work with giant communities. I mean, this one, 4,700 square meters, produced 22,000 liters per day. And that's just using the sunlight. So there's a lot of other things that we can do that will help. This right here is all you need to have a solar filtration. This means you can dump any kind of water in there. It could be seawater. It could be water from a pond that you just filtered through a sheet or a cloth. I mean, it's simple, easy, fast. This is like basic. Is anyone, like, any Boy Scouts in here? I can't be the only one. Really? I'm the only complete nerd? Okay, Troop 257, Burbank, okay. We met at St. Finbar. That thing on the upper right is what we were taught to make. Except this is going to sound odd. You would dig a hole, you would urinate in the hole to create the moisture, you would put the bag in there and a rock in the middle of the bag and a Sierra cup underneath it. And in a day, you would produce a couple of cups. It didn't taste like urine because it was the steam coming up. Or if it's water, you just dump water in there, and the steam and evaporation will clean it up anyway. Now, water filters that you can use, and this is kind of cool. When you look at this, it seems too simple. You mean you get pond water, you filter it through a cloth, and then you run it through rock, sand, gravel, and charcoal, and you could make charcoal with a match. Can it be that simple? It really is. Charcoal has got multiple different holes, and you could actually use it for poisoning and things. We'll talk about that on the first aid. But there's so many different things that you can use. Iodine, fantastic for getting water cleaned up. Chlorine, okay, and we're talking just minimal amounts of drops. The Lifesaver bottles, this is so simple, so easy. And again, would this fit in a backpack? Yeah, and just be prepared, because it doesn't matter where you live. There's always going to be certain challenges. Black mica is fantastic. Now, this is great for first aid, but it's also fantastic for water filtration. When we look at charcoal, this is, if anyone's watched those survival shows, if you eat a bug or a plant that's poisonous, you can literally break off a hunk of charcoal, chew it up, grind it up, and it'll bind to the poisons and keep you from dying. And it seems too simple, but you can get activated charcoal just by going down to the health food stores, and it works fantastically well. Chemically filtering the water, and again, what you want to do is get as clean as you can. So first you get a bucket of the pond water with the leaves floating in it. Okay, filter that through a cloth. Okay, and you could get a cheesecloth or anything else to get the leaves and everything else, and then the what stuff you have left over, that's what you start to purify. Purify it through boiling, through other filters, run it through some sand, grok, charcoal, whatever, but that's going to be the easiest. Toilets. Remember the one flush nightmare? Okay, well, hopefully you have some type of water source so that you can have the toilets being used. But what about 4 days into this? Okay, and I'm talking like New Orleans. Okay, we're talking that these disasters are going on all the time. So start looking a little bit different. So if you have a waste disposal problem, composting toilets are fantastic. But what's a trip is, check this one out. Okay, the top left was back in the 1800s. You would poop in a bucket, pull a handle, dirt would come on top of it. Okay, simple, easy. And you'll see a lot of the outhouses, okay, that were around the same time. Even nowadays, they'll have an ash bucket next to you or a sawdust. So after you poop, you spread it out over there, you know, and then close it up. And so composting toilets, the one thing though is you want to separate the urine. Because if you're going to be using it as compost, you want it as dry as possible. Plus, you can utilize the urine. The urine is absolutely phenomenal for, I mean, some people use it for health benefits. I can't get over that one yet. I know, urine recycle therapy. There's certain conditions that are fantastic for it. I don't want to discount it. It's just, it took me months to build up the courage for a colonic. So I haven't done that yet. Okay, even though it's really good for you. But urine as fertilizer is fantastic. So if you urinate on plants and things, it can burn it. So you want to dilute it. And the dilution is about 1 to 6 parts, or 1 part of urine to 6 parts of water. But it works fantastically well. You can see from the plant growth over there. The whole thing is we're in the chaos phase of our society. We're just talking about water and waste management right now. I mean, digging a hole, covering it up is fine. If you're going to process it in a compost, depending on the heat, it can take from a few weeks to a couple of years. Okay, so it's a long-term process. What we're talking about is that all the challenges that we're going to be experiencing, the health challenges that our population has, the financial, everything, we're living in a world that's not functioning correctly. Okay, we've lost our spiritual guidance, we've lost our health guidance, we've lost the trust in our body, that your bodies are smart. No, doctor, what's my blood test say? Like he knows your body better than you? I'm telling you, these guys don't. The first thing that I ask on patients that come in, I'll say, what do you think started this? What do you think caused the breast cancer? What do you think caused the degeneration? What do you think caused the fibromyalgia? What do you think caused it? And guess what? Most of the time, people will tell you. Went through a divorce, I had an accident, playing football, all of this other stuff. They know. They're just looking for solutions, and you're not going to find solutions in a pill bottle. So when we have that new world, okay, and also too, if there is a disaster and a significant disaster where a society's interrupted, avoid large population areas. Because I'm just thinking, like, LA has 14 million people, it's supposed to be a desert, and let's say you shut off the food and water supply there for a week. Anyone want to walk through there with me? No, that'd be stupid. Okay, so understand, we have to tell our friends that this is their responsibility. Wherever they're living, they have to take care of themselves. So in the new world, what we're going to do is change society. We're going to clean up the food system. This means that we're going to treat animals ethically. There's my son's going back, my oldest boy is going back to Poland to set up I mean, not off the grid, but really, really eco-friendly living. And he's found out, what was that farm, buddy? 1 acre, or how many acres for the livestock?
1 acre to feed 60 families.
Okay, 1 acre of livestock. Okay, a 1 acre place where you're raising livestock in an appropriate pasture fashion, it can feed 60 families. And this is not feeding them toxic corn, having their waste, letting them live short lives. It's proper husbandry. So we can eliminate the toxic products or the toxic farming methods that utilize a tremendous amount of energy into something more beneficial. We got to stop the government subsidizing the big crops and look at environmental impact of all the farms. That's got to guide our decisions. Like, what's our life going to be like 7 generations down? And the Native Americans would talk about that. So the decisions that you're making now, think of how it's going to affect your great-great-grandkids. Sending up an eco-friendly village, okay, where you're utilizing solar, wind, geothermal in a continuous harvest container. Does that sound kind of cool? Yeah, talk to Michael. He'll show you how to do it. Okay, cleaning up the healthcare. 114 years this has been going on. Okay, that the pharmaceutical industry is teaching the people that have cultural authority, the medical system, on how to drug the population to handle symptoms. How effective is that? It's very effective at profit. It's not very effective on the human. They're the leading cause of death. I mean, we got to change this. The environment. Anything that's energy efficient, something that has harmonious aspects to it. We can't keep pulling fossil fuels out of the ground and burning it up until the fossil fuels go away. Look at more energy efficient, more tight-knit communities, because that's what we're going to work into. Politics. Wouldn't it be nice to have people that are in our government be able to govern? And then be accountable. Okay, if the bastards can't balance their own friggin' budget, then hell, print me a limitless amount of money and then I'll be able to do it. Wait.
Yay.
Oh, that's what they're doing, isn't it? Oh, I guess just printing more money doesn't work. It works for a little bit, but we're going to see it's not going to work too well. And then infrastructure, that's huge. We look and are responsible for our infrastructure because right now it's not working well. So now, all of this stuff, I don't want to do doom and gloom, but it'd be foolish to say everything's cool. Our population is ridiculously healthy, and our government really knows what the hell they're doing. Okay? I know. It's insane. So we can't go on to like this. We have to change, and we have to prepare. The ones, and tell your friends and family, if they say, oh, you're a whacked out prepper, it's okay. Store some food for them. Okay, store some water for them. If you're going to pray, and you're praying to God to pay your bills, forget that. Ask for abundance to help your entire community. Okay, let's save as many as we can. Let's change it up a bit. Now, the Extreme Health Academy, we do webinars, everything else. All of this stuff is going to be on there. This month we're talking about liver health, which is like hugely important. Okay, so, I mean, check that out. The cruise is coming up in about a month, and I don't think there's any seats on there. I mean, we're splitting the group up into 2 but I think the boat's full. And this one, we're actually redoing the site, but it's still up and running. This has got probably the most complete, detailed information that if somebody, and we're talking referenced, if someone gives you shit for, vaccines are safe and effective, bam! Hit them with some facts. Oh, my doctor is regulating my blood pressure with these diuretics. Bam! Okay, you got the information there to break the pattern the pattern interrupt of these people that are, I don't want to use the term sheeple, but they're not thinking about anything else. They're just thinking about their world or their work or their, the sporting team or something else because it's scary. Ignorance is bliss. It's just the majority of the population is ignorant, and they're going to die from it. I mean, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance can cause death. Okay, if your body is ignorant about the environment, it can respond in a way, and that's called an autoimmune condition, where it can kill itself. It can shut itself off. So let's not be ignorant about what's going on in society or the world. Okay? And don't just save yourselves, because you guys are cool. Let's save as many people as we can. And you're going to get ridiculed. Everybody, cool. What was that guy a couple thousand years ago? He was saying, love your neighbor as yourself. If you get hit, you turn the other cheek. He said a lot of really cool stuff. Okay, was he accepted by society immediately, or was he ridiculed? He was ridiculed. Cool, man, you're part of a good group. Get out there and get ridiculed. God bless you. Let's make a difference. Thank you very much.